Hi guys, it's Holly and I thought I would give you a little lesson in alcohol markers because they seem to be a bit of a mystery, and I know I've kind of got where I am by just trial and error. So today I'm going to do these little sushi designs. You can see that I've just very lightly marked these onto my paper using pencil. I can start to colour them in. So first tip is to use an old piece of paper. Put it underneath the paper that you're going to be using because the alcohol markers will bleed through to the other side. So I use a variety of different types of alcohol markers. These are actually Letraset Pro markers, and I also have a set of Chameleon markers. And these ones, they're just called art markers. I bought these ones off Amazon. It was like £8 for, I don't know, 20 of these things in all different colours of grey. So I haven't really found too much of a difference between the different markers. I mean, I think the Pro markers probably have a bit more ink in them, but it's negligible because I think they're about 3 times more expensive than these guys. So I don't know, I haven't really found too much of a difference so far. So the first thing I want to show you is when you're using the alcohol markers, you can see that when they first go on, you have almost like a time when they're wet, and this is the more blendable time that you have with them. So I'm going in, I'm using one colour there. I've got a darker colour here, like a dark green. And I want to make a bit of a blend. So I'm sort of doing like a flicking motion here, and then going back with my pale marker and using that again over the top. I'm regretting my choice here slightly, so I've got now a green Chameleon marker to make this a bit greener. This is the nori on the little sushi, so it needs to be a little bit greener, I feel. And then I'm going to go back with the palest colour again, but on the wide ends. These Pro markers have got a pointy end and a wide end, which I really like. There you go. You can see now there's quite a nice little blend we've got going on here between the dark colour going up to the light colour. And you'll find that as it dries, can you see around here the brighter green is going up towards the edge. They do slightly weird things as they dry. I quite like the random nature of it, but yeah, it's something to experiment with. So I'm just going to wait for this one to dry so you can start to see the colour gradient that we've made there. Let me pull this up. So my next thing to do on this little sushi is to use this art marker with the foam nib in a cool grey and go around and just mark in some of like where the rice is. When you're doing something pale like this, I don't think it needs too much. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to use a Pro marker in rose pink, do a little bit of a blushy cheek. So here I've done, yeah, like a darker spot, and then I've got a paler colour, soft peach, and I'm going to go around it, and that'll kind of blend it out a little bit. What you can use is you get these blender pens. This is from my Chameleon set, but it's just I think it's just a pen with just the clear alcohol in that you can go around the edge and help blend it out a little bit. And then we're just going to let this dry, and then you'll be able to see how the colours look when it's dry. So you can see as it's starting to dry, when they're wet, the way in which they blend with each other. So you can kind of achieve this again once they've dried, and then go over it and really saturate the the paper again and try and get the two colours to blend into one another, but I find that generally it's easier if you do it when both colours are wet and just work on small areas of the drawing at a time. So now you can see that this one is completely dry, and you can see this nice gradient we've got going on here, and the little blushy cheeks kind of fade out into just the paper, and that's really been helped by using that blender pen around the edges. So now the next thing to do on this is to go around and add in the line work. So when I'm working with alcohol markers, I like to use something waterproof, so either Posca pens, which are paint markers, fine line markers, which again waterproof, they say there. What else? I've got these Japanese calligraphy pens that I bought, which again are waterproof, and these have a bit more of a brushy kind of nib on them. But whatever you use, it's worth doing a little test patch first and just testing with a bit of water to check that it's waterproof, because if it's waterproof, that means that you can go back over it afterwards. If it's not waterproof, you'll find that it might smudge when you use the alcohol markers over the top. I sometimes use these Stabilo coloured fine liners. Now these aren't actually waterproof, and they do change colour sometimes when you put the alcohol markers over the top, but I quite like that, so it's worth having an experiment to see how the line works. I test it on a scrap piece of paper by doing some of the line work, going over it with an alcohol marker, just leave it a couple of minutes, see what it does. So there's my finished little sushi with this little blend. I did go around and put in a couple of white highlights with my white Posca marker. So now I'm gonna do a few more of these little guys so you can see how this same technique applies to different illustrations. So you would have seen on the time lapse of this one that I did like a stippled effect, and you can see here how that makes quite a different blend to this one where I've done a smooth blend. So I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to alcohol markers, and it encourages you to just have a little go and experiment yourselves for different ways of making marks and different ways of making the alcohol markers, like the different colours, interplay with each other. I'm going to set up a little Q&A so you can ask me any questions you might have about alcohol markers, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.